Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Game 2 was a rock fight. The Lakers threw more rocks. They win 94-85. And this series is tied up at 1. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never behind paywall. And of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where nearly 35,000 subscribers, Andy, are all hanging out and rejoicing in a very hard fought Game 2 win for the Lakers, 94-85, a throwback game to like 1830s or something like that in terms of offensive production. But the Lakers, they needed to bring it physically. They needed to bring it, in terms of effort and energy. They certainly did that, particularly on the defensive end. We'll get into all of it. And of course, Luka Dončić, 1 assist away from a triple-double. But we do want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So look, I mean, this was kind of a do or die game for the Lakers. There's no way around it. You do not want to go back to Minnesota down 2 and needing to win 4 or 5, 3 of which would have had to come on the road. The Lakers got it done, certainly led by Luka, 31, 12, and 9. I want to talk about the offense, a little bit tonight and over the course of the week. But it was a struggle, but it was a better kind of struggle for the Lakers, certainly than in Game 1. But they won this game, Andy, with the requisite effort and intensity that JJ Redick and the team has been talking about since that Game 1 loss.
I think in particular, it was a half of a struggle, like the second half offensively, whether you want to consider it a struggle in terms of putting up points or a struggle to maintain the discipline of what they were doing in the first half.
Yeah,
and we can talk about that. But the defense was spectacular throughout this entire game. I mean, there were very few possessions over the course of 48 minutes where, forget whether Minnesota scored or didn't score, but just in terms of the defense that was being played, where I was like, what are you doing? Or pay attention, or what? Like, there were very few times where I was dissatisfied by what happened defensively. Like, I may have been, pissed that Minnesota got a basket or whatever, but as far as the effort and the intensity and just the desire defensively, and then we had talked about this all week leading up to this game, that not a narrative, it's accurate, like that talking point to a man, that Minnesota was far more physical, that they dictated the terms and tone of Game 1. The Lakers needed to match it. It was like the Lakers switched from decaf before Game 1 to cocaine before Game 2, just because they were animated and edgy in a way that was just night and day different. Also, to be clear, it was not cocaine. Just in case anybody from the league is listening. No, I don't want a drug test. It was not cocaine.
All right. I mean, you had a scoop there for a second, but I guess if you want to leave that,
no, it's not the type of scoop that I want.
No,
you want to pop the Wolves for doing a bunch of blow. That's fine, but no, I want to make it clear.
It's just, and it wasn't just the defensive intensity that they brought in the first quarter, to build this large lead that they basically spent the rest of the game, protecting, and it makes a huge difference to play from ahead, like legitimately well and rightly ahead in a game, not like they were at the end of the first quarter in Game 1, where all of a sudden you blink 3 minutes into the second quarter and it's gone. The Lakers sustained this lead until, got a little, you're a little nervous there sort of near the end, but it never got below 9, I don't think. And throughout most of the game, anytime Minnesota got it to within, 11, 12, something like that, the Lakers made a push. and got it out back up to 15, 16, 17. And that's really where the game lived for most of it. But it was everything. We talked about it. It's matching them physically on the defensive side of the ball, but it's also move faster, get into your offense faster. If you have a miss from Minnesota, get up the floor. Like there were 3 or 4 plays early in that game where you're just like, well, that didn't happen in game 1. Long passes, getting out on the break, urgency to get into an offense in the half court. They just moved with so much purpose on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, throughout the game defensively, they were as locked in defensively as we've seen this group forget in a while. I would say what they did tonight defensively was as locked in as they've been all season. Like basically across the board, I think a lot of it was set by LeBron in terms of just the tone and his activity and his effectiveness. LeBron was really good. Rui was terrific.
Yep.
Defensively, particularly in the second half. And this was a game Rui actually left for part of the first half. He got hit in the face by a forearm and an elbow and a hand, and basically everything from, I want to say, Naz Reid's right shoulder down to his fingertip smacked Rui in the face on a drive. Like he actually floored Rui, and Rui went to the tunnel or outside the locker room and then sat down on the ground, and he had a towel that was just filled with blood. He had been spitting. He needed to try 2 different.
Right. Again, it's important to point out it was his. They didn't just hand him a towel of blood. That would be weird. But yes. It was like, but he goes in and he's got the mask and he comes back and he's throwing the mask off and he gets a different mask. And it's just like, when Redick was asked about it after the game, he's like, yeah, he's probably back there getting, an x-ray. And, whatever it is, unless it's something that is like literally dangerous for him to be playing, some sort of, he's going to play on Friday, but he's going to be playing uncomfortable. And, this is not a series where anybody's going to back off of your broken face. That's for sure.
No. And we'll get it. I'm sure we're going to talk about the physicality more throughout this show, but beyond the Lakers matching the Wolves' physicality, and frankly, I think exceeding it and really dictating the terms of it, they were often the first to hit. I think they were the more aggressive team. Like they were making it clear from the beginning, you are going to feel us over 48 minutes. The Wolves, I think, were very often trying to match physicality in a way that would irritate the Lakers or put them on tilt. There was a time where Julius Randle was driving against LeBron, going for a dunk, and I think swung down pretty blatantly into LeBron's face. Mm-hmm. There was a sequence where Jaden McDaniels,
which they reviewed, by the way, to see if it was a tech, and I think probably in the regular season it would have been. In the playoffs, they let it go.
Jaden McDaniels, there was a sequence where I think he pretty blatantly tripped Luka while he was on the ground. Luka hit the ground hard. Naz Reid was trying to agitate Austin Reeves. He was trying to agitate Jared Vanderbilt. And the Lakers met all of this, but they kept their cool. And their attitude was very, you want to turn it into this BS? Go for it. We don't care.
I think also, too, that and it didn't necessarily result in more free throws for the Lakers. Like I know people always are focusing on the Lakers free throw differential and this and that. And in this game, it's worth noting the Wolves actually shot more free throws than the Lakers, 25-20. But what I do think this did is when the Lakers came out with that physicality and Minnesota tried to turn it up, it put them in a lot of fouls. I mean, the fouls slowed down.
Both teams fouled hard.
They did. But Minnesota really started to pile them up early in the game. And in the second half, it was a little bit, less. Lakers weren't able to quite do it as much, but Minnesota sort of slowed the pace of the game down and stuff like that. But you had, a couple early on Gobert, a couple early on DiVincenzo.
You got 3 in the first half. I want to say he played 6 minutes. And he had
right. Chris Finch had to, I mean, this was not a great night for the referees, but Randall was in foul trouble enough to the point that Chris Finch actually had to keep using challenges to try to get fouls taken off of the board on Randall, and he was 2 for 2. Again, referees, it's unfair. It worked out for the Lakers just in the sense that they're using up challenges, but it's unfair to Minnesota. Like, you have to use those things to correct calls that, and all that kind
the
of
Lakers
stuff.
had one of those too, where Dante DiVincenzo ended up getting called for an offensive. Like, it was I don't remember who it was against, but it was
Vando.
It was against Vando. It was
Pushed up, got him with his elbow in his neck.
Yeah,
it was
right. And Vando originally got called. They challenged it. They won, but to your point, like, call it right the first time.
Right.
These
are
obvious.
It is unfair to both teams to be in that situation where you have to use challenges. But I feel like the Lakers, the way they match that physicality, when Minnesota tried to turn it up, they lost discipline. And, Naz Reid getting offensive fouls on screens and this and that, whatever. So that part of it worked really well. Another thing that worked really well for the Lakers, Luka Dončić, 31 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, fewer points than in game one, but a better game for Luka overall. We'll talk about him next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge because it is. It's electric in the arena, and with Game Time, you can be a part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast, easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and the last-minute deals can save you up to 60%, 60, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. All-in pricing means no surprise fees at the checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
So, a quick reminder for people, if you want to get the Locked On Lakers newsletter to go along with your subscribing to the podcast, whether on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, you certainly do it on YouTube. A lot of almost 35,000 people subscribing there. You can also get go to Locked On Daily. Click on Locked On Lakers and you get the Locked On Lakers newsletter 5 days a week in your inbox. Keep up with the team, keep up with the show, keep up with the league, because there's plenty of great analysis on the site around there. And between now and April 30th, if you subscribe, you are basically going to be entered to win one of 3 amazing prizes: a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, perfect time of the year to have the opportunity to upgrade your entertainment setup, $300 Game Time gift card, or $200 Fanatics gift card. Again, just by subscribing, go to lockedondaily.com, click on Locked On Lakers, and just by doing that, you are entered to win. So thanks. 31 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists for Luka Dončić. The Lakers were significantly better when he was on the floor, and things got a little worrisome sometimes when he wasn't. He was really good. In one small thing that both of us didn't like about it, and I've seen even a couple people in the comment section here on the live chat talk about it, but overall, this was a really good game from Luka on both sides. I think he played he was a big part of this active and intense Lakers defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Luka was on the floor too much for the defense to be as good as it was tonight, and him be a liability.
Take that, Perk.
Yeah,
says he never hits the floor.
Well,
he's so going to take credit for Luka's performance in game 2.
Oh, I mean, Luka definitely hit the floor when Jaden McDaniels tripped him. He hit the floor.
Ain't that the truth?
Hard. That was dirty. In particular, Luka was spectacular in the first half. 22 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from behind the arc. Got to the line 8 times, made all 8 of them. 5 rebounds, 5 assists. He was just really, really quite good. He was doing a great job just being a part of not just setting up teammates, but I think doing a really good job of creating an atmosphere. And this is what we really saw in the first half for the Lakers, of moving the ball. Like, everybody in the first half, and there's a very important distinction, in the first half the ball was really pinging all over the place. And Luka, as the guy with the ball in his hands more than anybody on this team, I think did a really good job of setting that tone of just having the ball whipping all over the place. And Minnesota in the first half, particularly like the first, I don't know, maybe 18 minutes of the game, had an extremely difficult time keeping up with it.
Well, yeah, and I think the Lakers as a team did a better job of finding ways to shake guys loose without, rather than just settling for an ISO or something like that. The more effective screen and roll screens, a lot, often coming higher on the floor to give guys a chance to be moving more downhill and force Minnesota to have to cover a little bit more space. And so there were those opportunities. You get into the paint, then the ball starts moving around. Guys didn't stand still when the ball got into the paint or on the perimeter. You see guys cutting and things like that. There was just all of that was better for the Lakers, and it just starts with Luka. I mean, like LeBron is at this point, I think I don't want to say like a safety valve, but to some degree, like he is clearly the secondary scorer in this setup, and you're not going to hear him argue about it. And I think is there to try to control games with passing, with defense, with and then being
with his
able
voice. I mean, with his communication, like
right.
He's still the best communicator on this team,
and it's not like the Lakers. There aren't going to be, hopefully in a long playoff run, many points over the course of, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 games, whatever, and beyond that they play, that LeBron doesn't carry a team for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, a quarter, a game. And like, he's still an incredible luxury, but the rhythm of the game offensively is going to start with Luka, because that's who the Lakers are built around now offensively. And I just, it was an ugly game offensively for the Lakers, but they did a lot of things. And Redick talked about this after the game. It's like they didn't score a lot, but they executed better, particularly again early. They had some wonky moments in the second half, but they didn't turn the ball over a lot. They didn't take crazy out of rhythm shots. When you have guys moving, you get better balance on, going the other direction. And so they didn't give Minnesota easy opportunities to run and get out in transition and do all that stuff. So yeah, the percentages weren't very good, but the quality of what they were doing was much higher. And for both teams, there's going to be a couple games where people just start hitting shots. Minnesota missed a lot of shots they made in game one. The Lakers continued to miss a lot of shots. They did not shoot the ball well and were really bad in the perimeter. The Lakers made 6 3-pointers in this game. So it
doesn't help that I think Rui in particular, because, he's one of the guys that is counted on to hit outside shots, and he's been good all season. He passed up a lot of threes that I think were directly correlated to this mask. I can't always see well. I
can't
really
see what I'm doing. Yeah,
I really do think there were many open threes that Rui passed up that I honestly think were directly related to that mask.
Yeah, and there were a couple that I wish, you're sitting there going, "Ooh, that's got to go again." Lakers 6 of 29. Like Minnesota was 5 of 25 and was barely worse from 3-point range than the Lakers. It was an ugly shooting.
Lakers marked their shooters. The Lakers did such a better job marking shooters.
They did. And then again, when Minnesota had some open transition threes or something, like they missed. I mean, they missed a lot of shots that they made in game one, but they shot unnaturally well in game one. And I just, you look at what the Lakers did in terms of the balance of it and whatever, and there's still a lot of room for improvement there. Reeves struggled early, struggled all night with his perimeter shot. He missed all 6 of his 3-pointers. Luka only made 2 of 8. LeBron only made 1 of 5. I felt like most of Luka's misses, and this is the one criticism I have of his game, were trying to execute step back threes over Rudy,
or just isoing against Rudy. Like, I tweeted this out during the game at Cam Brothers. Like there's a fine line between trying to find a mismatch that works and taking advantage of it and getting too eager over it. And Luka was really walking a tightrope when it came to specifically Gobert.
Yeah.
Like
I think
Gobert,
he fell off it a couple times.
well, like, and he wasn't alone. Like Austin did it a few times. Like I was talking about this online with Aaron Larsoul, friend of the show, knows the game and the Lakers organization extremely well. Like, and he tweeted out something to the effect of the Lakers need to have more offensive variance than try to get Rudy Gobert ISO'd in a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take it a step further. They need to stop fixating on Gobert, period. I think they are allowing Rudy Gobert, the presence of Rudy Gobert. What do we do with him in terms of the floor combinations they want to put out there to try to maybe get him off the floor, or if he's on the floor, trying to isolate him to the degree that they think they can either take advantage of him or maybe get him off the floor. Like, treat him like Rudy Gobert. He's a good player. Just treat him like a good player you can beat and stop the obsession over him.
It's the equivalent of when you get a mismatch in the post and you keep being able to switch yourself into a position where, we'll just say for the Lakers, like Rui would get like Mike Conley in the post. I'm making this up. It didn't happen a lot in this game, but you start tilting your offense towards something that looks like a mismatch, but it's so far outside what you're normally doing. Like the Lakers don't run, again, this is a hypothetical, but the Lakers don't run post-ups to Rui Hachimura. And so if you start doing that over and over again, whatever it might be, and I think that became something that just got too much into what
it's a weird combination.
Just go play.
It's a weird combination of it feeling like they're both hunting for Gobert and afraid of Gobert. Like just treat him like a center, man.
Go play.
Like, but otherwise, Luka was
really phenomenal. Otherwise, it's a minor criticism because Luka. This was a game where the Lakers needed a superstar performance in, again, a rock fight. This was not a game anybody was putting up 30, 39, 45, 52. Like that wasn't happening in this one. Like, Anthony Edwards played a pretty good game and he was stuck on 25. And so like Luka's output was really impressive in a game like this. And he showed up big on a night where the Lakers needed him to. He was pretty big in game one too, but Lakers had to have this game. Luka led them to it. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the supporting cast and what
JJ's timeout
and JJ's timeout, which was important. This was an important part of the game. So we'll get to all these things next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. There's no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. You can dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed. Just as easily, you can stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made easy, all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more, or as I like to call those, everything I watch. A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easy to travel with. It allows your kids to never miss gaming with their friends so they won't bother you. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd Gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen.
So the social media clip of the night, Andy, was a third quarter timeout from JJ Redick. Lakers on the ball in front of the Lakers bench. And if you, let's say you don't get a chance, let's say you're listening on in the morning as we were, we're going live here on Tuesday night, but let's say you're at your desk on Wednesday morning and you look up this play. Headphones. It is not safe for work. It is not safe to play around the children. So just be careful, because you don't want to turn this into an HR thing.
Yeah.
Because man alive, the mics caught JJ Redick getting salty with the Lakers. And it was at an important time, and it was very effective.
Yeah, JJ stormed out on the court. The last sequence before that was LeBron missed what I thought at least was a pretty quick three, and it led to the Wolves getting rebound, Anthony Edwards driving to the rim. This is coming off a fair amount of sequences where I thought ball wasn't moving, Lakers getting
They were
losing
some of that intensity,
right,
and purpose.
And JJ calls this angry timeout, storms out onto the court, and as he storms out, he yells, "Timeout, what the bleep is going on? Jesus bleeping Christ, what the bleep are you guys doing? Come on." Like, somebody asked me, like, who was he yelling at? I said, I couldn't tell specifically if he was yelling at DFS or if he was yelling at everybody and happened to be looking in DFS's direction. But regardless, he was pissed at everybody on the court, and whatever he told them in the timeout got through to them, because they went on a 7-0 run like really quickly. And they didn't maintain all of the discipline from the rest of the third quarter and all the fourth onward, but for like a few minutes, man, they were on their P's and Q's. They were not screwing around.
But like, and it was funny. JJ was asked about this. I wasn't frustrated. It was just coaching. I agree. He wasn't frustrated. He was angry. There's a difference. Mad. Like Reeves was asked about that moment. Again, like, he lit into him in the timeout too, but this is just calling the timeout. The act of calling timeout was not decidedly not safe for work. But Reeves was asked about it after the game, like, what was his message? It was play better. But like, sometimes, like, guys, wake up. Like, it's because a game like that, one of the things Minnesota did a really good job with after the Lakers built this lead was they didn't panic. They just kept, and I mean this almost in the most literal sense, they just kept slowing the game down and grinding and grinding. They didn't get they lost their composure more in the first quarter than I think they did in the remaining three. And the Lakers, because the game got so muddied up, naturally lost some on the offensive side. I think never on the defensive side, but on the offensive side, lost some of that hop. Plus, I think they were getting a little tired. That game was brutal.
You made the point before we came on about how both teams are probably happy they don't play till Friday.
Oh, I think if they could stretch that into Saturday, they'd all be happy. It is, that was a really unpleasant game. And I think it was kind of uncomfortable to watch. Like, it wasn't pretty. There was nothing elegant about it. I guarantee you it was unpleasant to play in. All the platitudes of we're blessed to play playoff basketball and all that stuff notwithstanding, it was not fun. It was not a fun game. But they won it. And, but that moment was just one where Redick needed to, like, kind of wake him up a little bit. Hey, guys, you worked so hard to get to this point. If they score the next 5 points, we got a real problem on our hands. If we score the next 5 points, the game is back under control. And the Lakers, as they did throughout, were the team that scored the next 5 points anytime Minnesota got close.
I mean, to put what you're talking about in perspective in terms of the Lakers, even with it being just 94 points, being the team that scored more often, Anthony Edwards had 25 in this game. Like you said, 10 of 22 from the field,
22 shots,
2 of 8 from behind the arc, 3 of 4 at the line, so only 4 trips. You can live with that. He also had a 0-2 assist to turnover ratio, so the complete inverse of game one, the 9 assists against 1 turnover. Again, indicative of the way the Lakers did a better job defending him, a better job marking shooters, outlets for Ant on drives. I thought they did a better job of, frankly, not panicking when Ant drove and just defend him. Like, just defend him, make him work. He's going to score some baskets. And then Julius Randle, pretty good game for Julius. 27 points, 9 of 17 from the field, 2 of 4 from behind the arc, got to the line 9 times, made 7 of them, 6 assists against 1 turnover. The next highest scorer among Timberwolves, 9 points for Naz Reid. Like, you had 2 guys with 20 plus, and then nobody else reached double figures.
Yeah, Reid, the Lakers did a much better. And look, I mean, some of it was just, he's going to miss some shots, and he made 6 of 9 from 3-point range in the first game. But he's a very good player, and the Lakers put a lid on him. And that was a lot of that was the Lakers very effectively playing Naz Reid, and like that was one of the big changes. Jaden McDaniels comes back to earth in terms of his shooting, 3 of 11. I mean, I just you look around what the Lakers did defensively. There was very little to look at and say that wasn't good. And then you go back to the offensive side, and 23 assists from the Lakers is lowish. You're not going to get much better than that when you only score 94 points. But you had LeBron with 7 against 2 turnovers. You had Luka with 9 against 4 turnovers, and you had AR with 5 against 1. And so, I go back to what I said at the beginning of the show. Like, they weren't great offensively. It wasn't pretty, but they avoided a lot of the really bad mistakes that give Minnesota points. They made Minnesota earn every point or every opportunity for a point. And then it should be noted the Lakers made their free throws. And Gabe Vincent came in, hit a couple big shots early, which I think was very helpful for the team. They're still going to need to figure out a way to get something off of the bench. And Jackson Hayes was awful.
I think JJ went into this game really wanting to play Jax.
Absolutely. And I think he's going to give him there's no choice. He's going to give him another try, in game 3.
You're not predicting Len's sanity?
No, I'm not. But it's either Jackson or nothing. And look, it's part of the reason he couldn't give him a longer opportunity here is because, he picked up 5 fouls in 9 minutes and, a terrible goaltend. And if it was going, if they'd let him play for another 3 minutes, he'd fouled out. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Terrible goaltend, but he did almost destroy the ball in the process. So you got to give him a little bit, I guess, of extra credit.
Well, it was a frustration goaltend because it came right after he was called for a terrible offensive foul, 80 feet away from the basket, trying to set a screen for Reeves coming up the floor. It's just don't do that.
And it was not his only illegal screen in this game.
There were many illegal screens. Most of his screens were verboten.
He did have, I will say, Jax had one of the most spectacular plays of the game when he had a bit on an Ant up fake on a 3, flew by, but then jumped back and blocked Ant's actual 3 attempt. That was in a vacuum, one of the best plays. We'll talk, about this as the week goes on, but it was one of those games where sort of Hayes kind of reverted to older habits. And look, it's the playoffs. It's game 2. I'm sure, like you said, JJ was like, "Look, man, we're gonna lead. I think we're gonna lean." It was just Jackson was a little overcooked in this game, and hopefully it'll be better in games 3 and 4. Where the Lakers they need to do what Minnesota did here. They need to go split and come back with game 5, tied at 2. If you do that, the series is back in the order that it's supposed to be, and the Lakers are looking good. So, Saturday, go get that win on Saturday. But if you don't, you come back as Saturday and following Tuesday again, I believe. And no, it's Friday and Sunday.
Friday and Sunday. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. Friday, Sunday, if you don't do it Friday, go get it Sunday. So I'm pretty confident with it. I think this was a really important game that showed that they can win one of these rock fights against a team like Minnesota and match that physicality. And I love that they get these extra days off. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with 35,000 subscribers to the channel. We, of course, will be back with plenty more to get you ready for game 3. We'll see everyone tomorrow.